Hello, this is Movie Hanger, and today I will tell you about the movie The Thing. In ancient times, a spaceship flew past the Earth. Perhaps it made an emergency landing, or maybe it simply crashed down. The only thing known for sure is that a flying saucer lay in the ice for a long time. In the winter of 1982 in Antarctica, a group of Norwegian polar explorers was chasing a dog. They tried to shoot it, but doing so from a flying helicopter is not that simple. The dog reached the American polar station, and when the Norwegians tried to kill it, they accidentally blew up their helicopter. The surviving Norwegian was killed by the expedition leader, Gary. He decided that this Norwegian had gone mad and might accidentally shoot someone. He had already wounded Bennings. The local dog handler named Clark took the escaped dog, but he didn't put it in a kennel with the other dogs. Meanwhile, Windows is trying to contact anyone on the radio to report what happened, but no one answers him. The polar explorers bring the Norwegian's body to the station, and after examining it, decide to fly to the Norwegians. They want to find out what could have happened for two people to start chasing a dog through the snowy wilderness. Dr. Copper and pilot McReady set out on a journey, reaching the Norwegian station and finding it almost entirely destroyed. Inside, they discover a body with a slashed throat. Copper and McReady retrieve video recordings found in one of the rooms, along with documents containing information about the activities conducted here. They also find an ice block that once contained something large. The polar explorers assume that the Norwegians found some frozen animal. On the street, they come across the corpse of an unknown creature resembling a human. Attempts were made to burn it, but the body is well preserved. Copper and McReady loaded onto the helicopter to show the others. The dog from the Norwegian station sneaks into the facility with one of the researchers. Upon their return, Copper and Blair autopsy the body of the unknown creature and realize that internally it is structured just like a regular human, with all the same organs. They also examine the Norwegian polar explorer's body, finding no alcohol or other prohibited substances in his blood. It turns out there were reasons for it to chase the dog. In the evening, Bennings notices the dog still wandering around the station and asks Clark to take it to the other animals. When he leaves the dog in the kennel, the other dogs sense danger and start barking. At that moment, the dog transforms into a horrifying monster, grabbing and devouring its fellow canines. The commotion brings the polar explorers running. They see the monster and try to kill it, but bullets have no effect. Then McReady recalls the partially burned creature's corpse and decides to burn the monster. The station has a flamethrower, which they use to confront the monster. They then take it to the laboratory and try to determine what kind of creature they are dealing with. Blair realizes that this organism perfectly mimics other life forms, as was the case with the Norwegian station's corpse. Only then, the creature was attempting to imitate a human. After this, Blair injects surviving dogs with serum and begins to suspect Clark. He spent much time with the mutant and could have been infected by it. The polar explorers study the Norwegians' video recordings and realize that they found something extraordinary. McReady and two others head to the Norwegian base and discover a flying saucer embedded in the ice. It had been lying here for thousands of years before its discovery. Next to the UFO, the pilot of the ship could have been present. Upon returning to the base, McReady told the others about it, but not everyone was ready to believe the story about extraterrestrials. It sounded too unbelievable.
Just cannot believe any of this voodoo bullshit.
While the discussion was ongoing, Blair created a computer model to understand how dangerous the alien cells were. It turned out that if alien particles were to enter densely populated areas, it would take only 27 hours to infect everyone on the planet. Blair also found out that the likelihood of several team members being infected by the alien organism was 75%. In his notes, he made a remark that cellular activity was preserved in the remains found with the Norwegian polar explorers, indicating that the bodies of these creatures could come back to life on the planet. McReady informs Fuchs about this. He was the first to notice that Blair locked himself in his cabin and behaved strangely. Meanwhile, the charred corpses are moved to the storage. Windows wanted to destroy them, but Bennings decided they might be useful for future scientific discoveries. When he was alone with the remains, they revived and attacked him. Windows noticed this and called the others, but when they arrived, Bennings was outside and no longer himself. They had to burn him to prevent harm to others. After that, everyone went to the recreation room, and McReady stayed outside. He noticed Blair sabotaging the controls on his helicopter and then ran to the station. Here, he barged into the communication room and smashed all the equipment. When MacReady and the others tried to enter, he opened fire on them.
Come on, man. You don't want to hurt anybody. I'll kill you!
Blair was afraid that the extraterrestrial creature would break free and infect all of humanity, so he did everything to prevent it. They managed to capture it. Blair was taken to a separate room and given a sedative. After that, he was locked up. When MacReady was leaving him, Blair warned him not to take his eyes off Clark.
I said, watch Clark. And watch him close, do you hear me?
MacReady took Blair's warning seriously. After consulting with the others, he decided to check each of the researchers. For this, they needed contaminated blood to compare it with blood samples taken from people, but someone had poured out all the blood supplies. The key to that box was only held by Harry. However, he says he didn't do it. The researchers start to panic and suspect each other. Harry resigns from his duties, and MacReady takes control of the station. He decides to test a portion of the team for the presence of the extraterrestrial virus in their blood. Additionally, he asks Fuchs to develop a method to identify the infected, and while Fuchs is working on it, the power goes out. He has to go outside. Here, he finds a scrap of clothing with MacReady's name on it. Meanwhile, the pilot checks on Blair, who behaves calmly. He wants to return to the station, but MacReady has no intention of letting him go. Then he discovers Fuchs's remains. Someone killed him and tried to burn the body. MacReady and Knowles go to check the pilot's outpost, where inexplicably the lights are on. However, Knowles returns alone. He claims to have found evidence of MacReady's infection. Knowles did everything to prevent the pilot from returning to the main building of the station, but he still came and sneaked inside. To prevent them from killing him, MacReady grabbed explosives and threatened to ignite the fuse if anyone touched him. They still tried to seize him, but he fought them off. During this struggle, Norris fell lifeless, and they had to resuscitate him. When Copper used the defibrillator, Norris's stomach opened up, and he bit off the hands of the doctor. It turned out Norris was infected. They burned his body and the crawling head that tried to escape. The crawling head gave MacReady the idea that each part of the infected organism acts independently. Therefore, even the blood of an infected person would try to survive if threatened. MacReady forces the polar explorers to provide blood samples. He then heats a wire and dips it into each sample one by one. Clark refused to give blood, attacked MacReady, and MacReady killed him. Afterward, he took a sample, revealing that Clark was not infected. The only infected person was Palmer. When he was exposed, MacReady tried to kill him, but the flamethrower didn't work. Palmer managed to kill Windows before being set on fire himself. Then, Windows began to reanimate under the influence of the extraterrestrial particles in his body. MacReady had to burn him as well. The remaining survivors went after Blair, but he escaped. Under the building where they had confined him, he assembled a makeshift flying saucer. MacReady blew it up, then the power went out at the camp. The generator was damaged, and restoring power was impossible.
It's gone, MacReady.
MacReady realizes that the extraterrestrial creature wants to freeze itself and the humans. In this state, it would wait for rescuers, and when evacuated, it would spread into the wider world. MacReady cannot allow this. He decides to burn down the entire polar station. Along with Gary and Knowles, they plant explosives and ignite the entire camp. When they separate, Blair attacks Gary and Knowles, killing them. Then Blair transforms into a monster and attacks MacReady, who manages to fend him off and blow up the camp. Blair dying in the explosion, only MacReady and Childs survive. They meet in the ruins of the station and realize that their time is short. They still don't trust each other, as either one could be infected. However, all they can do is wait and hope that both of them turn out to be human. This is it for today. Like and comment if you want more similar videos. Would you survive against the thing? Write in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.